to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution.
CINN Stations in Alt salutes our troops. Whether you're for the war or against it, they're still there. These men and women deserve more than our support. They deserve the comfort of home. Send a military care package today. Just type military care package into a search engine, point, and click. Let's show our troops we care. This message from CINN Stations in Alt, wishing Godspeed to our fighting men and women and thanking them for their triumphs and their sacrifices. The Beth Messiah Congregation invites you to come and experience a Messianic Roots biblically based congregational fellowship as we observe God's Shabbat in Messiah Yeshua. Praise and worship services begin at 10:30 a.m., followed by an Oneg Shabbat meal, mid-Rosh, and fellowship. Beth Messiah Congregation is located at 8333 Acoma Way in North Denver. You can find out more information by calling 1-800-205-6245. Everyone's welcome, so join us this Shabbat. And Shabbat Shalom, good Sabbath.
Indiana becomes the first state in the Union to allow citizens to shoot law enforcement officers. The United States bans Israel from taking part in the Global Counterterrorism Forum. Citizens in one Massachusetts town will now be fined for swearing in public. And who owns the media? We'll take a look at the 6 monolithic corporations that control almost everything we watch, hear, and read. My name is Howard Riell, and this is Real Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com, and on Facebook, and on YouTube, and now on Real TV. And in the book, Real Truth, Stay Angry. I'm not going to leave that out. And, of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM The Lion. Our call-in number, 877-254-7524. Our lead story. Radio host Glenn Beck has signed a $100 million deal with syndicator Premier Networks, Inc., to continue distributing the conservative pundits' popular program for another 5 years. Stop. And so Glenn Beck just barely edges out Howard Riell for the number 3 spot, 3rd highest paid radio host in America. He only beat me by approximately $100 million. You know, I have a niece named Michelle Riell. Well, now she's got a different name because she got married. She's in radio. She and her husband, Dan, they have one of those drive time shows where they sit together and they're cute and they're funny and they're giggly and they make people feel nice as they drive down the road. You know, it tells you something about the days in which we live. Now, I wish nothing but the best for Michelle and Dan. That goes without saying. Whatever they're making, they deserve it. But take a look at what is happening here. Okay? For a drive time show, when people say cute and funny things, there's money, there's advertisers, there's listenership. Who knows how many people listen every morning because people love to be entertained. What about a show in which the host tells the leadership exactly how and why and from whom they're having their own country stolen from right under their feet? For that, there are no brass bands, no parades, no big fat budget, not even any money for promotion. So what does that say to us? What does that tell us about life in America and American society in the 21st and even back in the 20th century? What does it say? Well, it doesn't say anything good. It tells us why we are a country that wants to be entertained. Give me the Kardashians, give me the NBA, give me baseball, give me football. Give me American Idol. Federal Reserve, don't bother me. Incredible debt, not interested. The Law of the Sea Treaty, never heard of it. My friends, what the hell is wrong with us? What is wrong with us? If you're waiting for me to tell you, I'm not sure that I can. We are the most anesthetized society in the history of the world. Some of us anesthetize ourselves with booze, some with drugs, some with various other addictions. Most of us, we just want to be entertained. And man, are we ever entertained. I hope that scares the crap out of you, as it does me. Now, here's another sign of the times, an illustration that Americans have to protect themselves, even from those sworn to protect us. Item from allgov.com. Police officers in Indiana are upset over a new law allowing residents to use deadly force against public servants, including law enforcement officers who unlawfully enter their homes. It was signed by Republican Governor Mitch Daniels in March. The first of its kind in the United States, the law was adopted after the state Supreme Court went too far in one of its rulings last year, according to supporters. The case in question involved a man who assaulted an officer during a domestic violence call. The court ruled that there was, quote, no right to reasonably resist unlawful entry by police officers, unquote. The National Rifle Association lobbied for the new law, arguing that the court decision had legalized police to commit unjustified entries. Stop for a second. That is precisely what the new law did. The NRA is correct. The court, I'll read it again, said that the average schmo has, quote, no right to reasonably resist unlawful entry by police officers. Unlawful. No right to resist unlawful entry. You're damn right that was a bad decision. Tim Downs, president of the Indiana State Fraternal Order of Police, which opposes the legislation, said the law could open the way for people who are under the influence or emotionally distressed to attack officers in their homes. Stop! Why would anyone be emotionally distressed just because someone's breaking into their house? Someone armed to the teeth with his buddies who are also armed. You know, I never met Tim Downs. I'm sure the Indiana State Fraternal Order of Police is a wonderful organization. Tim, get a clue. We're talking about illegal entry. Illegal entry. If you say, Tim Downs, the police have a right to enter illegally, then there's no more America. There's no more freedom. No more privacy. No more legal and not legal, because now everything is legal for the police to do and nothing is legal for us to do, and that's the end of this country. Tim Downs, do you realize that? Should people be shooting at police? Obviously not. But just as obvious is the fact that police should not be battering down doors illegally. You want to break into someone's house, you get a judge to sign a search warrant. You have reason to believe that there's a violent, illegal act about to happen, then you can break down the door. But I read too damn many articles in this show about people who slam down the doors, shoot people, beat them up, drag them outside, arrest them, only to find, oops, wrong house. And so now Indiana, and I have no great things to say about Indiana. My first wife was from Indiana, but I give Indiana credit. They're saying that Americans have rights. They're saying that our homes are our castles. They're saying that police may not do illegal things. Explain to me how you argue against that. You can't. Not in America. In the old Soviet Union, the KGB could break down your door and do whatever the hell they wanted to. In Nazi Germany, they could do whatever the hell they wanted to. Indiana is saying this is America, and America is different and better, and I agree. This is Real Truth, my friends. We'll take a break, and we will be right back.
The Lord brings the counsel of the nations to nothing. He makes the plans of the peoples of no effect. The counsel of the Lord stands forever, the plans of his heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people he has chosen as his own inheritance. Psalm 33, verses 10 through 12.
No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10.
Restore Health and Counseling salutes the men and women in uniform who've answered the call for our freedoms. Let's give them the hero's welcome they deserve as they have fought hard to restore peace. America's troops are our angels of protection, so stand up and salute them proudly. That's from Restore Health and Counseling at 4705 Paris Street, serving Northeast Denver with complete substance abuse counseling for adolescent to adult and for private as well as professional drug, alcohol screening and treatment and rehabilitation. Visit us at www.rhctherapy.com or call 303-373-1188. Whether you're in automotive, sporting goods, hardware, health, wellness, electrical, electronics, construction, carpet cleaning, legal, or animal care, and offer exceptional customer service and provide quality services or goods, you're honest, reliable, and professional. If you have a business, we have the customers. Let us put you in touch with our loyal, supportive, and dedicated listeners today. They're waiting to hear from you. It's inexpensive. It's effective. Call KHNC at 1-800-205-6245.
Welcome back to Real Truth. I am Howard Riell. My guest today, well, he's not really a guest. He's on video. You'll find the video on my Facebook page, Real Truth Radio. My good friend, well, not really friends, we've never met, Judge Andrew Napolitano. He is, in this video, giving a speech about natural rights, the Patriot Act, and the Constitution, if anybody remembers what the hell that is anymore. Let's listen to some of these wise words from Judge Andrew Napolitano.
When we were colonists, and all of this happened right here where we are, my God, we're in Valley Forge, of all wonderful places. When we were colonists and the king wanted to raise money from us, he and the Parliament had ingenious ways of doing it. And one of the ways that they raised money was to enact the Stamp Act. And the Stamp Act required that every piece of paper in your possession, a book, a pamphlet, a lease, a deed, a mortgage, even a poster you were going to nail to a tree, had to have a stamp on it with the king's image. You think it was rough going to a post office? This was a foreign post office run by the king in the colonies, and you had to go there and get these stamps. Question: how did the king know that his image was on every piece of paper in your possession? Answer: the Parliament enacted something called the Writs of Assistance Act. This horrible piece of legislation authorized British soldiers to write their own search warrants. So a British soldier would show up at your door in New York or New Jersey or Pennsylvania or Delaware and handwrite out authority which authorized him to enter your house, ostensibly to look for the stamps. There was no judge involved. There was no evidence that you didn't have the stamps. There was no evidence that you had any documents that required the stamps. He was just permitted to enter, and while there, take what he wanted. Rum from the islands without a tax stamp, you can't prove you paid the tax on it, we're going to confiscate it. Furniture from the mother country, you can't prove you paid a tariff on it, we're going to confiscate it. By the way, we have 15 soldiers that need a good hot meal and a place to stay tonight. We're taking over your farmhouse. Enough was enough. We fought a revolution. We won the revolution. We wrote a constitution. And the whole purpose of the Constitution was to keep the government off the people's backs. The only reason the Constitution was enacted was because of the promise that the Bill of Rights would be part of it. So it is enacted, it is debated in 87, it's enacted in 89, and in 91 the Bill of Rights is added. And the Bill of Rights enumerates the liberties that we believe are ours by our birthright. When the Constitution was being debated not far from here in Philadelphia, there was a great argument about the origin of our freedoms. Question: where do our freedoms come from? Answer, if the person answering is Thomas Jefferson, from our humanity. God created us in His image and likeness, and as He is perfectly free, so too are we perfectly free. And when Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among these is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, he answered that question for all time. Our freedom comes from our humanity. This belief is known as the natural law, that our freedoms are as natural to us as the fingers on the ends of our hands, the noses in the middle of our faces, or any part of our body or any part of our spirit. The first piece of legislation ever enacted by the Congress of the United States was to adopt the Declaration of Independence. And the Declaration of Independence, just as they signed it, just as they promulgated it on July 4th, 1776, is part of the law of the land. And so if anybody says to you, well, what do you do when the government violates our natural rights? You do what the law of the United States says you do. It is the duty of the people to alter or abolish a government that violates our rights. And so we wrote a Constitution, and the Constitution, because of the Bill of Rights, added specific guarantees of natural rights that the government couldn't interfere with. The right to think as you want, the right to say what you think, the right to develop your own personality. I've frequently told O'Reilly that's the right he should be most grateful for. The right to publish what you say, the right to worship as you want, the right not to worship if you don't want, the right to self-defense, the right to use a gun when the police are unwilling or unable to protect you. And the right to use that gun on the government if it steals our freedoms, if it's taken over by a tyrant. The most unique of American rights is articulated in the Fourth Amendment. And after the right to life, it is the greatest of rights. It is the right to be left alone. We call it the right to privacy. And it reversed the Writs of Assistance Act. And it said if the government has a target, someone from whom they want evidence, no matter how guilty is the target, no matter how widespread is the belief in the guilt of the target, no matter how accurate is the belief in the guilt of the target, when the government wants to get in your property or in your home or into your bank account or into your papers, it must go to a neutral judge. And it must present to that judge what the Constitution calls and what lawyers know as probable cause, evidence under oath that it is more likely than not that the target or the custodian of these papers possesses evidence of a crime. That was the law of the land in the United States of America until it slowly began being worn away in the lifetime of everyone in this room. Let's get this straight. The right to privacy, this unique American right, required that everyone from the government that wanted anything from a private person had to go to a neutral judge and swear an oath and present evidence to that judge as to why the person's right to privacy should be violated. Now, we all know what happened on 9/11. And many of you live right here. Shanksville, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., Lower Manhattan. None of those is more than a day's ride from here. Many of you probably know victims of 9/11. I did. A lot of us at Fox did. I happened to have been in New Jersey the morning when it happened, and we all have horrific memories, and it was one of the darkest days in American history. But, my friends, assaults by fanatics on our safety does not justify assaults by the government on our freedom.